I'm Sarah Holtzclaw. I'm the program manager at the Tri-Valley Career Center. And I just kind of wanted to give one, introductions and a lay of the land for today. Okay, so first of all, restrooms are around the corner, out the door and to the left. And the emergency exits, there's one, if you keep going past the bathrooms, there's one exit there and there's one past the reception in case we have an earthquake, okay? Or anything else. I kid you not, there was a 7.7 earthquake in the Caribbean this afternoon. So Cuba and Jamaica are on tsunami warnings right now. So yeah. So I also wanted to give you, I know that this was a very hot ticket, that as soon as I put it out there on our constant contact, the remaining tickets were gone in like 4 minutes. It was like a, I don't know, Ariana Grande concert or something. See? Everybody wants to work for Workday. Workday is on everybody's target list, right? So, like I said, it was a hot ticket. Everybody wants to talk to Stephanie. That's not what today is about. Today is about learning from her about what Workday is like and what she as a recruiter looks for in LinkedIn profiles, in resumes, what the culture of Workday is, and that sort of thing. After she has her time sharing her knowledge with us, we'll have a facilitated question and answer. So if you have, we asked for some people to send questions ahead of time, and we have tried to read your minds and have created some prepared questions. If you have some questions that she has not answered in her presentation, I have extra cards, and if you didn't get an index card when you walked in, then we have some extras. Write it down and we'll collect them and then facilitate it, okay? If there is extra time, we're supposed to go till 3:30. If there is extra time, we've gone through everybody's questions, then it's up to Stephanie, but she might be available for some one-on-ones. But the questions that you ask need to be in general. They're not specific to your situation, okay? We want everybody to learn from this, and so, and it's not just Workday that we're going to be talking about. She's been a recruiter in a lot of different industries, okay? So she's got some knowledge she's going to share that's not just Workday, all right? So, so the questions and the stuff you're going to learn today, it's exciting because you can apply that to a lot of your application, a lot of the companies that you're looking at and targeting. A couple other commercials is that, and also if you have a resume, if you brought a resume and we don't already have it, there are red boxes, red baskets, thank you, red baskets out there to drop your resume off. We'll scan them and send them to her, okay? Speaking of resumes, our job board, please put your resume up on our job board so that employers can find you that way. And also, this is kind of a commercial, but we are having, the census is coming up and we need you to be counted, okay? Not only do we need you to be counted, it's all online this year, to be counted. Some of our federal funding, we get federal funding and some of that comes because of the population that we have. But also we're going to be an assistance center, so if you don't have a computer at home or don't feel that you want to do it at home, then you can do it at our place, okay? And we'll have some bilingual interpreters there to help you with it as well. I wanted to introduce the other Tri-Valley Career Center staff that's here. In the back, Amy just walked out. In the back is Sharon Schuyler and Amy Miller. They're both employer liaisons, so they helped put this together and got Stephanie here for you. In the back filming is Christian Castaneda. He's our enrollment specialist. And Christy Miller is back there. She's a career counselor. You might all see her. Did I say Christy Miller? Yeah. Christy Miller runs the Tri-Valley Untitled. You didn't think I'd know your last name. And Lynette Hassan Marshall back there works with, is a partner of ours and works in our office weekly connection with the adult schools. So, to that end, I wanted to introduce Stephanie, and I'm just going to read your bio, if you don't mind. The one that you sent. She has 15 years of recruiting and leadership experience, working with clients in the Bay Area, nationally and internationally, recruiting in industries that include technology, healthcare, utilities, and consumer packaged goods. at least to name a few. She has experience in full cycle recruiting, mentoring, and managing. She's motivated to place talented candidates into great career opportunities. As a principal talent acquisition partner at Workday, she is partnering with internal stakeholders in IT and services to hiring top talent to create a scalable organization. Through employer promotions in the marketplace, candidate management, and interview process management, Stephanie impacts the overall IT and technical integration teams with professional manager and senior director level hiring. And to that end, I give you Stephanie.
So I was on LinkedIn one day, and I had the opportunity to connect with Sharon. So it's a really great privilege to be here and share some information with you. So thanks for having me, and thanks for connecting, Sharon. As Sarah shared, I've been here in the Bay Area. I have many years of recruiting experience, but I generally put over 15 years or over 10 years of experience. And I have worked in a variety of industries, as Sarah mentioned. I've also, what I don't mention there is I've been on both sides of the house. So right now I am a corporate recruiter, but some of you may also be working with staffing firms and those recruiters. So that's going to be a little bit of a different process, and we'll touch on that in a bit. But again, I'm happy to be here. I'm a constant career coach, as you can imagine. The hundreds of people I speak with a day, a week, and how many people I speak to a year. But I really consider it, as a recruiter, I really consider it a privilege when I'm speaking with individuals, talking to them about their career, because it's a big decision and it's a big move, and it's not always that one person's. It doesn't affect that one person all the time. It can be affecting a family, and they're relocating, or adding an educational process, and they're going to go get their master's degree now. So I think it's really important that when you are working with your recruiters, that they feel connected to you, and they understand how important it is, and it is a nice opportunity to work with you. So these are some of the hot topics we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about LinkedIn and social media profiles and how you can utilize those to your advantage. Also networking and the importance of that, and the network gurus that you all have to become in this career search as you're researching opportunities and researching where you're going to find your fit and what you're going to pursue. The resume, that is daunting to a lot of people, and I understand that, because when I look at them, it's daunting to me. There could be a ton of information or no information. So we'll talk about resume formatting, some do's and don'ts. Working with recruiters, those two sides, or actually there's more than two sides of the house, but talking about making friends, working the gatekeeper, and all of that. And I'll tell you about my place that I get to go to work. We'll talk a little bit about Workday, a little bit of high level there, and then we'll have some opportunity for Q&A. So first, LinkedIn and social media profiles. When you think about creating your personal brand, or let me step back, when we think about a brand, you go out and you see the golden arches, or you see that Workday symbol on the building. Certain things resonate with you, and you think automatically of the, I can't remember the burger that McDonald's sells, but you might think of that, or the apple turnover, or whatever comes to mind. Or you see the Workday brand and that logo, and you might think of, oh, great place to work at Workday. So what you want to do in creating your personal brand, you want to think about your brand the same way. What are you going to do to help yourself stand out? What are you going to do to help that recruiter remember you? Is it going to be on your resume? Is it going to be on your LinkedIn profile? It is, and it's going to be on all the social media you use, and it will be on your resume profile as well. So just think about that. Sometimes it's a little bit of a different way to think about putting yourself out there, and interacting with social media and your resume profile, but think about that brand and how you want to be remembered. So LinkedIn, we look at that. I just pulled mine, and I'm not saying it's the best one, but I did work on it a bit. So I wanted to share that. When you're looking at a LinkedIn profile, not only as a recruiter, but even yourself, as you're researching profiles that you might take some information from, or you like a certain format, or it reads well, so you're going to be researching that also as you put your LinkedIn profile together. But one thing a recruiter will look for is the background. Is it where they're working now? Mine reflects where I'm working now. What am I doing right now? I'm hiring at Workday. Where was my education, San Jose State, and then a little bit about me. So when you're writing on your LinkedIn profile and you're writing about yourself, you can maybe sit with a friend or your partner or whoever and have them write a couple of positive things that you've done as an employee. What do they see as a highlight, a success? Or you might even hit up one of your previous employers or one of your previous colleagues and have them just send you a couple of buzzwords. That will give you something to reflect on as you put together the About You section, because sometimes it's hard for us individually to humbly talk about ourselves, and or just talk about ourselves at all. But that stands out when people look at it. Not only the About You, but if you have a photo, which I encourage everyone to include a photo on your LinkedIn profile, the percentages of people reviewing and looking at your profile are much higher. So, high resolution, that is not a great photo, but high resolution, something professional and appropriate. So you're not going to want to go out to a party Friday night and then take a photo, and you're probably not the right thing to portray out there. But maybe you can have a headshot done by a friend or a colleague and have that put up on your LinkedIn profile. I've also seen, so if somebody is in a medical industry, maybe they're in their scrubs, which is kind of cool and appropriate. But just a clean, concise headshot is going to be good for people to see and connect, because they're connecting with you. They don't get to meet you yet. So it's really important to have that photo there. As you continue writing the About You section, I've also included another piece of social media that you can see my background on, and that's Twitter. So that is another option on LinkedIn. You can, and I strongly encourage you to link that in there. So you can put in your Twitter account. People can click on that, go directly to my profile on Twitter, and find out what I'm following, find out what I'm doing right now, what I'm posting, what's current and relevant to me. And again, that's just giving people another layer, something else to follow. As you go down, and I didn't want to print the rest of the profile, but as you go down on your LinkedIn profile, you'll be able to add your roles and your positions. So generally, we don't want to go back more than 10 or 15 years on LinkedIn, and you may put it off to 10 years because it might not be so relevant. But include those gaps. So if you were a stay-at-home parent for a while, you took a gap year and traveled around the world, include that and speak about it. Education and travel is huge. What you've done staying home, I actually personally do have a gap where I stayed home for a bit, but I was fundraising for my children's auction at school and raised $100,000. That's pretty impactful. So I was still working. I was creating a tiered program for fundraising at our pool club. I was still working. So if I can speak to things like that during that time that I stayed home, that says something to the recruiter or the hiring manager or whoever might be looking at that profile. So don't hesitate to put that in there. It's just, again, wording that, the activities that you were involved with during that time, maybe looking at some other profiles where people were staying at home or took a gap year after college or mid-tenure in your career. So look at how other people are presenting that, and you'll learn from that as well. And you can, of course, Google it and search on the internet and find some other areas of improvement there as you're listing your employers. At the end of the employer section on LinkedIn, you're gonna find a space for recommendations and volunteer work. It's really, I think it's very good to include if you're volunteering. So if, in my case, I'm active with Boy Scouts, I'm active with Dress for Success, that's telling the recruiter or whoever's viewing that you're doing more than the project manager role in your technology department, or you have other things that you're working on and impacting. So I think that's really important. It tells you a little bit about the person, a little bit more information. If you're a triathlete and you did Coeur d'Alene, that tells me that somebody is very disciplined, and I just think about those things as a recruiter as I'm reviewing that volunteer information. The next spot at the end, I believe it is the very end, are the recommendations. And those can be very important. If you are a software engineer and that was your last role, or you're in that role now, and you had a high profile project, you released this application, had a schedule, under budget, and you have that snippet where you're currently working or worked your last role, and you have a recommendation that speaks to that and how you work together, that is a huge highlight. So as a recruiter, if I'm looking at the software engineer candidate and their profile, and I see that, and that person raved about him, and now they're the CEO of this other company, wow, that's really important. And that application went and did this, and it benefited that hiring manager, and it's just like that trickle down effect. So that's really eye-opening for the recruiter. And then if the recruiter sends a LinkedIn profile, the URL for the hiring manager to review before they, again, even have your resume, and I see that say, hey, Joe, you need to, I'm gonna ping this person, you're gonna need to speak with them. Look what, it's on mark, it's exactly what you're looking for. And so I'm gonna reach out. Again, that's a huge selling point to the recruiter and the hiring manager. And then keep in mind your recruiters, if I'm looking at a software engineer, I'm not a software engineer, I'll never be a software engineer. And I've met with my hiring manager, I've had a meeting, I know the buzzwords, I know the type of work they want this person to have done. So if they're looking for a full stack engineer, I'm going to see that somewhere on their profile, and it's gonna stand out. So again, that's gonna resonate with me because of the notes that I have in front of me that the direct hiring manager gave me. And that goes for every role. From a corporate recruiting perspective, we're pretty entrenched with our stakeholders in our business. So if you're working with a marketing recruiter or a technical recruiter, whoever, HR recruiter, that's gonna stand out to us. Again, because we're meeting with the managers and we're finding out in layman's terms, high level, exactly what they want this person to be doing and what they'll be doing. So that's also something to keep in mind. And all in all, I would just say, keep it appropriate, keep it business on LinkedIn. Sometimes LinkedIn can get oddly a little personal with some things that people share, but I think LinkedIn it's been a great place for me to find talent, for me to share information, for me to make professional connections. It's an amazing tool, so you just want to make sure you're putting out appropriate content, connecting with people that can help advocate for you, help influence you, help you learn. So that's really important. Who you're going to follow, dig down, look at what they've done. If you're a software engineer and you're connecting with somebody that just wrote out this great blog, that's somebody you're going to learn from. So make those connections. That's going to be part of your networking.
Twitter. So we spoke a little bit about Twitter. So if you click on my link in LinkedIn, this is where it's going to take you. It's going to take you to my profile.
I think when I speak with candidates sometimes and we talk about the social media piece, it can be really overwhelming. Depending on where you are in your tenure with your career, we're all using different types of social media. So, my kids might be on Snapchat all day. I'm not, but I'm looking more at Twitter and LinkedIn. So that's where I'm at during the day in my work. So I didn't even include Snapchat in here.
But Twitter is going to be a place where, again, you're going to follow certain people, again, that resonate with you and what you're looking for. Maybe you're a QA engineer and someone is posting a blog or an article about QA in 2020, where is it going, and you want to follow that person because the information really stuck out to you, and maybe that's a company that you're targeting on your list and what you're looking at. So you want to follow them. So you're going to increase the people you're following, and people are going to follow you as well. The more you share content and the more you connect. Again, you're networking. So it's a little bit of a job sometimes, especially when you are in a place where you are doing your career search. It's a little bit of work, but it's also kind of cool because you're educating yourself on what's hot out there, because this is instant real time. So it's always updating. You don't have to put a ton of stuff in your profile, but again, you want to have your photo, you want to have your background. I was working in the city the time I think it was last time I refreshed that. I do love Silver Oak, I do love shoes, and Yost Van Dyke. So that does tell you something about me. So it's a tad personal, but not overboard. So it tells whoever's following me or looking at, oh, yeah, she's interested in more things than just recruiting or finding people jobs all day. And I am a 49er fan, so that's probably why I joke about that. I might like, so yes, I do like them. And then some photos there from some of the activities that I've been involved with. That'll pop up when people look at my profile. So you'll see that I attended Grace Hopper, our LinkedIn, Talent Connect LinkedIn, where Michelle Obama spoke, which is very cool. And then Halloween, we all dressed up for babies. So again, some of the things that I've been involved with. So that's kind of fun for Twitter. And again, it's educational, and we want to keep it lightly personal, but much more business, because people are going to look there. So especially if you have it on your resume, because I do have my Twitter handle on my resume, so people can look at that. So if you do put it on your profile, make sure it's, again, appropriate, relative to what your interests are. Instagram. Instagram is, I see it as more personal for me, the way I use it, but it is moving towards much more business. Yelp is crazy active on Instagram. Workday is crazy active on Instagram. And if you are connecting and utilizing this social media venue as one of your top social media presence, again, keep it businessy, appropriate. If you're just going to keep it personal, then you probably want to just make sure only your friends can see your profile and put that security on there. But if you want to have it open, because you are networking and you're reaching out and you're connecting with those Workday people or Yelp people that are saying, come work here all the time, then just make it appropriate. Put some of your business presence out there. If you are highlighting, if you're putting some of your words up here as far as your brand and what you're looking for, software engineer that created blah blah blah. And if you are an engineer or technical and you have an account where people can go see your application or any of your code, you want to include that as well. So that would be good. And then there are additional spaces that you can add on Instagram. So if you do have any specific patents and you have a product maybe and you want to show photos of that, you can add buttons in there where people can connect on those and you can see them there as well. And you'll also be able to do that on LinkedIn. So that's kind of cool. So if people or recruiters or hiring managers are looking at all of your social media points, they're all connecting and they see, wow, this person is really entrenched in their presence and how they're presenting themselves and their interests and their experience, which is great that that would all be tied together. So again, Instagram can be personal or businessy or a little bit of both, like the Twitter presence. Facebook. This is a group that I follow. I think a lot of people are active on Facebook, so I didn't want to pull mine down because it's personal or clip somebody else's. But as far as Facebook goes, if you're in your career search now, or you're going to start it, you can utilize Facebook and connect with groups like this, Latinas in Tech, or your project management group, QA engineers on the run, if you're a runner and a QA group puts together this active group. There are so many neat groups out there. If you get on Facebook and you research them, again, another opportunity to network with like-minded people that are in the space of interest that you're in. So I think it would be beneficial to spend some time on Facebook, and if your profile is not, well, actually, sometimes they don't have access to your profile, so depending on how your security settings are set up. But I think this can be a huge strength in your research for your career and connecting with people, is getting involved in certain groups. So again, if you're a project manager, integration consultant, HR representative, whatever your background would be, do some sourcing on there. Run some searches in there and ask to be invited to that group. So I am involved in a couple of recruiting groups as well. So we're always asking questions back and forth and, hey, I did this happen to you? Your ATS, what did how's that going? It's great. And again, you're networking, you're putting yourself out there, and it's fun. You might make some friends out there too that you can really connect with. So Facebook is great that way. And again, if you don't want to use that, you just want to narrow it down, I think having that LinkedIn and Twitter combo is a pretty strong business combo there. But if you do want to join some groups, and I think on Twitter you can also do that research and look for local groups. But Facebook is easy to filter down real quick, so you can see what groups are local right away. So if there's something here in Livermore or Dublin, that can be something you can jump into pretty quickly. So in looking at social media and where you might be involved, there are some do's and don'ts, and most of the time the number one is just keep it appropriate. But there are some other social media do's. So if you're going to be on a profile, make sure they're active and they're complete. So again, the background photo, your headshot, new information, or whatever you're doing now, what's going on now, and not 5 or 10 years ago. Be unique and engaging with what you share, because you're trying to solicit a response and get followers and people to look at you, and be engaging with individuals that reach out to you that you might want to reach out to. So if you're going to be active on a social media site like a Twitter or LinkedIn, check it regularly. Don't let a week or two go by because you could miss out on a great opportunity or just connecting with somebody. So pay attention to that, or set up a calendar reminder once a week or twice a week, however active you want to be on that. But stay active, stay current in there. And use the right content on the right network. So if Instagram's just going to be personal, just keep that personal. If LinkedIn and Twitter are going to be all business, make sure it's all business. So what you're sharing is what you should be sharing on that social media site.
so you're not gonna put the family photos out on LinkedIn. That's pretty nonsense. All of this social media and the work that you put in is creating your organic network. So it's just spidering and working for you even when you're not on that site or you're not on LinkedIn. So you can imagine the more areas you follow, the more people you connect with, you'll be able to see the next layer of connections. You can ask for introductions. You can just expand your professional network very quickly the more active that you are on these sites. So that's something to keep in mind. It's something easy to do, and something you can do while you're sitting at home in front of the TV, drinking your coffee in the morning, whenever you have that time to devote to this. It is a job, looking for a job, it is what it is, but it can be fun too. And look at, when you think about it, look at these great people that are gonna have the opportunity to meet you and vice versa, so it's something to keep in mind. Social media don'ts, don't overshare your content, so you don't want to be there sending something out like every hour. So you want to make sure when you share something, it's going to be meaty, a nugget that somebody is going to want to read, and not like a thesis. So these are just sites that are just quick. Don't create posts in all caps because it's like yelling or shouting at somebody. So you want to be appropriate with your formatting and your presence online. That's important. Don't dedicate all of your time to one social network because you're going to want these networks talking to each other and seeing the overlap and how you're building that out and how that's going to spider to your advantage. So in addition to the social networks and sitting there online, it's also really important to get out and network. All of you most likely have this subject matter area that you are that is your strength. You might be this HR representative that has put together these project plans that have influenced the scalability of that organization to all get out. And that, if you're that subject matter expert, then you should share your knowledge with others. So getting out there and connecting with people that you may have worked with before, maybe speaking somewhere and sharing that knowledge, again, that's going to be important. It creates your value and you know what you know. So it's also going to help with the self-esteem part and that excitement about getting out there and meeting new people and sharing that information and making those connections. So that's important. Volunteering. So as you might have some downtime right now, volunteer where it makes sense for you to volunteer. So if there is a career center that maybe invites project managers in one day and you have been a top project manager in your company, maybe you come and volunteer and ping Sharon, hey, I've been there, done that. I would love to volunteer and come and speak and share my experience at so-and-so company. That, again, can be very powerful. You are able to share your background, your subliminally mentoring all of these individuals, helping coach them. So you're giving back at the same time. You're improving your own personal skill set with your public speaking. Again, that side-by-side coaching sometimes. So that's really important. So wherever it makes sense for you to get out and volunteer, you're always going to get something back. You never really volunteer and not get anything in return. So that can be a great place to go and get some experience. Becoming a mentor. That is something sometimes at a career center that you can talk to one of the representatives and mentor others. You can go to technical or other trade schools depending on your background and ask them if they have a mentorship program. I know there are there's some schools in Oakland, some technical trade schools in Oakland, that they love to have mentors, and they have specific like 6 or 8 week programs. So again, they will have speakers that come in. You might meet somebody from an organization where you make that connection, introduce yourself. Again, you're polishing up your own skill set. You are meeting individuals, and you're just honing those skills and sharing that information and staying active during this time that you may not be working. So that's really important. And developing some leadership skills in some sense along the way as you mentor and volunteer and get out there and stay active. Another important outreach that you can do is offer to help previous coworkers. So although you may have been, caught in a riff, or you were, laid off or whatnot, maybe you still have great relationships with those people. Why not go back and offer to share your expertise in a certain area? So if it is software engineering, maybe you go speak or volunteer for a career day with them, or see where they need help. Maybe they have a special project that you can help in. And if you do, it's something you can add to your resume in your downtime that you're off. It's something that you can add to your LinkedIn profile. So all of that is stuff to keep in mind as well.
Become a speaker, we kind of touched on that a little bit.
So if you have the opportunity to speak at a previous coworker here at the Career Center, that is a huge opportunity to share your expertise and to get out there, meet people, and feel good about what you know and sharing that. Writing about your areas of experience. If you can connect with a newspaper, maybe partner on a blog with somebody you know, maybe write an article for a magazine and see if you can get published. That is huge. Also, sharing a piece of information on LinkedIn, and you're talking about your work experience and that project you worked on that could benefit others and it's business appropriate. Get it out there, because it is going to get followed, it's going to get liked. People are going to look at your background, want to know more about you. So if you did that periodically and you want to share your expertise in quality assurance, then people are going to see you as that subject matter expert. Again, because you'll be creating that brand and you want to be remembered that way. So again, creating your personal brand at the same time. The resume. The resume is, as I shared, can be daunting. Where do you start? I don't know, I mean, most of you probably have a resume that you're working with. And your resume, one thing to mention, you don't want your LinkedIn profile to be your resume, so you want them to stand apart. LinkedIn is going to be a lot more high level and a lot more highlights on there than your resume. Your resume, can it be 2 pages? Yes, it can be 2 pages. Don't hesitate to make it 2 pages, because you don't want to cut yourself off and not be able to put the appropriate work experience or successes or education that could be really important in you getting that job that requires an ITIL certification or Salesforce admin cert, whatever that could be. So it can be 2 pages. As far as your font, you want it to be clean and easily read, no fancy serifs and no big arrow bullet points and all of that. You just want it to be a dot. Very, very simple. Sometimes depending on your background and experience, if you're applying to a marketing role or a UI design role, that might be different. Maybe your presentation on a profile is going to be a bit more artsy, and that could be what that recruiter or hiring manager will look at to see what your design skills are. But generally for a technical or HR, it's not going to be that. It's going to be very straightforward. easy to read, success is there, it's not too much, it's not too little, and that's the hard part, and knowing where to narrow it down sometimes.
As far as putting your information on there and starting, when you put your information on, you're gonna want
Your name, your phone number, your email, and then any social media that you want us to look at or to learn more about you. So if you want if you have a LinkedIn profile, always have that on there. That way, as a recruiter, I'm always gonna look at the LinkedIn profile to see if there's anything additional I can learn about you. If you have a Twitter, enter your Twitter handle.
So you want to put that on.
I would say do not put your address on there, because if you are living in Sacramento and my job's in Pleasanton, I was like, oh gosh, maybe that person might not want to relocate. Maybe the hiring manager will say that. Generally, it doesn't matter to me, actually, because people generally would want to relocate. But the hiring manager may say, oh, well, I'm not sure about that. So you don't want to put anything on there that's going to kind of bias the hiring manager when they see it, or even some recruiter that might not call people and you're living in Washington and they might think it's too far away.
So I would not add your address. As far as
Objective, no. No objective necessary at all. I think that kind of, that might pigeonhole you sometimes into a certain area. Sometimes a summary's okay, but even that is not always necessary. I think just getting down to the meat of your accomplishments and your skill sets. If you're a recent grad, education at the top. If you're not a recent grad, at the end is fine. I would also include any online training you're doing, any certifications in progress, any bachelor's, master's, PhDs in progress, and that's all you have to say is in progress. If you are listing your education, do not put your date of graduation. It's irrelevant. If you accomplished your degree, that's great. Again, showing dedication, motivation to learn more in a certain area. That's pretty impressive. Your online training and what you're doing now, very impressive. Again, learning, curious. These people are still out there and staying relevant and on top of their skill set and their experience and learning more. So don't hesitate to add that on. I know sometimes people say, well, I don't want to put something I'm doing something online and I don't have that certificate yet. That's okay. But we know it's in progress. So we can just put that in parentheses next to that.
The content, as you're filling out, you want to have the most recent work
At the top, and then go back. Again, only 10 or 15 years.
So if you have that 10 years of content,
And maybe you were five years in one specific role, and then 5 years in another role at the same company, each role should only have maybe 5 to 6 bullet points of explanation in what you were doing. If you are in sales, if you had any type of metrics that were above and beyond, always include the numbers. Percentage of increase, delivering an application ahead of schedule, under budget by X million dollars. If you're managing a portfolio with program or project management, the dollars of the portfolio you're managing, any type, if the numbers are relative to your role and they're gonna stand out as a success trait, I would absolutely include that. So again, make that one of your bullet points on your resume. Be conscious of the real estate on the resume. So if you have maybe some work that you don't really have a lot to say about, but you have more to say about another role, then you don't need to use all those 5 or 6 bullet points, but maybe you beef up another section and add another bullet point there. So as you're working through and as you're reviewing at the end, once you have all your language in your profile all set up, review it, cross off, add, and you're gonna have probably a couple of different types of resumes or versions, I should say. So if you're a technical and functional project manager, you might have functional expertise, and that resume tailored towards a functional, and then you might have another one that is technical and tailored towards a technical role that you're applying to. So, that's okay that you have those different versions. If that's everything you've done in those roles and you're open to either, then I would definitely have two versions of resumes. Unless it's a technical functional kind of a combo kind of role, then you might have that version as well, and speak a little bit about both sides that you have experience with. So that's important. And the education we spoke about, I would say as far as the impactful language, speaking about I and not we is going to be really important. What you accomplished and how you did that. Avoiding vague terms like team builder, performance driven, any kind of vagueness. That's something to keep in mind. You kind of want to avoid that vague language. Also, keep in mind the audience. So you want to maybe be a little bit more high level and not too much industry jargon. So as I shared earlier, I'm not ever going to be that software engineer, but I need to be able to read your profile and kind of dissect it as I'm going through there. So kind of just make it a bit more simpler, because once you get in front of the hiring manager, that is where you're going to take off with your technical jargon, get up to your whiteboard and show them what you can do. So again, just make your resume readable to the audience that is not a software engineer. So that's something to keep in mind as well. I would say when you're adding in your education at the end, honors are going to be important if you do have honors to add in your education. Your GPA is not going to be important. Even if you are a new grad, I would not add that in there. Again, it's you just don't want to be excluded from something because somebody sees a certain GPA or something like that. So I would just leave that out. But honors, I definitely include honors at the end there. And no photos on a resume ever. That's important. Nobody needs that. If you have your LinkedIn profile, they're going to see your profile. If you have a photo, I mean, that's not something that you're making a decision on, and that they shouldn't be if they're looking at that. But I've recently had a few resumes where I've had photos on them, which is different. So you don't want to put that on your resume. Just clean, cut, simple, easy to read. So that's something to keep in mind there on your resume. And then also, you can also upload that on your LinkedIn profile. So you want to keep that in mind too. Working with recruiters. So there are different recruiters. We have the corporate recruiters, we have staffing firm recruiters, and then we have on-site companies that manage hiring sometimes for companies. So that's a little bit more similar to a staffing recruiter. I think networking is huge. So if you are researching a company that you are trying to break into, go on LinkedIn, ask them for informational chat, ask them to connect with you. You just had a couple questions. They're 10 minutes on do you have time Tuesday at 2 p.m. for about a 10-minute informational chat. I had a couple questions around blah, blah, blah. Or I saw this in the news, or I saw this on your career page. Just establish those connections and network that way. Sometimes the gatekeeper is going to really put their hand up and not put anything through. So they're going to be a little bit more stringent, and you won't be able to break through them. So you got to find a way to go around. So on LinkedIn, maybe you connect with that hiring manager. that is doing, shows on LinkedIn sometimes who the hiring manager is, reach out to them. Don't be shy. You have something to offer and you know it. So if you're a great project manager and that person is hiring that project manager, ask him for 10 minutes, informational chat, had a couple questions, I saw this on your website, I saw you were hiring this person, that project's interesting, sounds similar to what I've done in the past, do you have about 10 minutes to talk about it? Just reach out, be that self-advocate, and if they look at your profile, you're reaching out through LinkedIn, you better have it put together, because that's what they're gonna look at first before they respond to you. So there are ways to get around the gatekeeper, and it's connecting with the people that they're working for. So that's something to keep in mind, for sure.
The friend, if you can connect with a friend that can refer you to the recruiter, that's huge. If there's any way your neighbor's working somewhere, and make sure you share your experience with them so they can speak to it and feel good about that referral that they're making. But if they can hand that resume in or shoot over that link for your LinkedIn profile and share it with me, of course I'm gonna look at it. Great people know great people, so we're gonna look at that. We talked a little bit about the on-site management company. They're gonna be like the staffing firm, and some of them are gonna be, actually they're gonna be more like that gatekeeper as well. So again, you wanna find a way, how can I get around them? If you see one of the hiring managers who maybe has posted something on Twitter, or posted something on LinkedIn that you read, speak to that in that little reach out that you're gonna mention. Mention that you read so-and-so, that really resonated with me. Do you have 10 minutes to chat about that? I had a question about this. Mention that, connect with them. Again, there are ways to get around that on-site. Contractors, contact. If you are contracting and you're not looking to go into a company as direct hire, which again is a great way to start in a company. I started as a contractor at Workday, so I get to try before I buy too, and so do they in a way. And it's a working interview, and that's the way you should look at that, because you never know what can happen. So if they contract you for a certain project, it's 3 to 6 months. You're auditioning 3 to 6 months if you want to work at that company. So you're going above and beyond. You're meeting as many people in that company as you can. You're befriending that on-site company that's managing you and sharing your successes, and you're documenting all the successes so you can speak to those. And if they don't hire you on, you can have a great reference to use at the next place. So again, that's something to remember as well. But contracting is great, and it gives you the opportunity to be in front of people and gain experience. So maybe you're learning a new tool set that you didn't use at the previous company, but you can with this contract that you're going to enter. So that's great. And a lot of those can be remote a lot of time too, depending on what you're doing. So that's kind of nice too. Sometimes there's a lot more flexibility there. So that's good. Workday. Workday, we do create cloud-based software applications. So HR and finance. We have recently acquired some tuck-in technologies with Adaptive Insights and Scout, which improves or has expanded our analytics capabilities. So that's going to be additional in our products. So that is what we do. And it is located, I'm sure everybody knows that we're headquartered here in Pleasanton. So this is where all the technology, all that development, most of it is all done here in that big, new, beautiful building there. So that's where all products and tools sits. We also have a huge HR team here locally, a large IT and infrastructure team that sits here. We are global, so we do also have those sister groups. So I do have peers that are in EMEA, as well as our products and tools and infrastructure networking. There are big teams in Dublin and Ireland, so that's our second largest location.
Dave really doesn't sit out here, he's at home. Anil's in the city, so that's where he pops in here and there. He's getting his bagel in the morning. So that's a little bit, just briefly high level on Workday. What makes this an incredible place to work? Customer satisfaction. Our customers report 98% satisfaction with our products, which is huge. I don't believe there's any other company out there that can say that. And we are very transparent with our customers. We have online chat where our customers can come in and they speak to each other. And from those conversations, sometimes there are new functionalities that are actually added to our products because of those customer interactions. So that is pretty amazing. And I, again, not familiar with our competitors and what they might do, but that is really cool that those customers are collaborating and influencing our products. Pretty amazing. Technology, we talk about having the power of one. So